Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the SOM TV podcast. I'm your host, Jason Wise. On today's episode, I am coming to you from Oregon. We are up here for Method Oregon's grand tasting and all of the events they are doing to showcase their sparkling wine. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot, and man, some of these wines are just out of this world good. On today's episode, I am having Ray Isle. Ray is the executive wine editor at Food and Wine magazine, also wine and spirits editor. He is probably one of the foremost authorities on this topic. I don't know many people who have drank more sparkling wine or talked about it more than Ray Isle. So we're going to talk about what Method Oregon is, what they're doing, are they doing it right, and how this region compares to Champagne and other regions around the world. I think this is a revolutionary thing that is going to change wine probably forever, especially in America. I look forward to that. I want to remind everybody that you can watch this episode on SOM TV right now. You can see what we're talking about. You can see Ray and I talking. It's a better format, so go to SOMTV.com, go to any of our apps, and watch this episode right now. And for those of you that are interested afterwards, you can check out Method Oregon, methodoregon.com, and know anything that they're doing there. And we have lots of content on SOM TV about kind of this revolution, which I'm going to continue to follow. I find it so fascinating, the risk and swing these people are taking up there. Without further ado, Ray Isle on Method Oregon. It's a true honor to have you back on the show, Ray. You've been in some of my films, you've been on the podcast, and been in shows many times. Ray, what is your position now? It seems to be growing, the title grows.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten promoted a couple of times with new names to the position, even though it's basically the same position because they ran out of things to promote me to. But I am the executive wine editor for Food and Wine, and I am the wine and spirits editor for Travel and Leisure. And then I wrote this book called The World in the Wine Glass.
Which is a fantastic book. We should plug that right at the top. Yeah. World in the Wine Glass is great. If you're working out and have strong arms, you'll be able to carry it. It's very
damn straight. I wanted to make a book that had two purposes. It would be interesting to read, and it would build your biceps.
Your biceps. It's a really good book.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasure to have you on. We're going to talk Method Oregon and just what is going on here with sparkling wine.
Mm-hmm. A lot.
So welcome back to the show.
Yeah, great to be back. Thanks.
Yeah. Today we are in the Dundee Hills in Oregon, and we are sitting surrounded
by really gorgeous scenery.
An incredible scenery. And we're here celebrating Method Oregon, which is, we've talked about it on the podcast, on the show numerous times on SOM TV. I am so infatuated with the idea of an American standard for something. And it could be anything, but it happens to be one of the hardest wines in the world to make, which is sparkling wine.
Right.
I want to ask you a couple quick questions. What is Method Oregon to you? Like, what is this?
Well, so Method Oregon is a nonprofit association that is dedicated to promoting traditional method, high quality Oregon sparkling wine. Whether that's from Willamette Valley or any other Appalachian Rogue Valley, it can be anything. It has some specific restrictions. It has to be Oregon fruit made in an Oregon winery. It has to be, traditional methods. So for second fermentation in the bottle, you can't just like jam a hose into a tank and blast it full of CO2. It's kind of
no Charmat blast.
No Charmat and no Coca-Cola method, nothing like that.
Sure.
And then there is a upcoming, they didn't institute it at the start because I wanted to give time for people to adapt, but there's an upcoming restriction that you have to be working organically or sustainably according to live certification, or essentially not using synthetic chemicals in the vineyard. It's a quality designation that is also a little bit of an ecological designation, which is cool because I honestly can't think of another sparkling wine designation that requires the sustainability side of things. I can't remember if Corponat in Cava does or not, but I don't think they do. Right. But so it's cool and it's new and it's brand new essentially.
Well, this is really fascinating because I've had conversations about this with the people who are members, with the people who have founded this, with the people who have dreamed of doing it. In fact, I talked to Andy Lytle. I want to say it was probably 8 years ago, maybe, and he was saying we really want to do this. Wouldn't it be a great idea? And now here we are. They're doing it, and you're a panelist at the event going on right now. You're the first person I've talked to that is not part of the movement. So I want to get some opinions from you because I think, and maybe I'm naive, this has a chance to do some revolutionizing American wine a little bit.
Yeah.
But they left some gaps.
They definitely left some gaps. I mean, any kind of accreditation or appellation structure or whatever is going to have, it's going to have things you leave out and things you keep in. There's always a political process. They didn't require people to be certified organic, for instance. It's more of an honor system organic. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But you're always going to have some stuff that could have been, should have been, or maybe is fine to leave out. It's interesting because you have appellations in the U.S. for U.S. wine, Napa Valley, take your big Dundee Hills, but you don't have production method kind of certifications in the way that you do. Like Champagne has very specific rules about how you make champagne. American sparkling wine, you can make whatever you want, and you can call it kind of whatever you want. And so this is the first regional designation that I know of about a kind of a way of making wine, which is fascinating,
Yeah. I wonder if they shouldn't have put Oregon in the name and came up with something like, I don't know, a distinct thing that they could then copyright, because no one's going to copy Method Oregon the way they did Champagne.
Yeah. I mean, I like the Method Oregon thing because it's from a purely like having looked at the wine business for a long time. If part of what you're trying to do is create something that will promote an organization or a certification that'll promote Oregon sparkling wine, one thing you need is a name that you can remember and that's catchy and simple. And there was a bit of a debate internally, I believe. I wasn't present for the debate, but there was like, should this be Method Willamette Valley or should it be Method Oregon? I'm like, to my mind, make it Method Oregon, because Method Willamette Valley is way too many syllables.
It really is.
And you're just going to wrap around the bottle and go off the side.
Yeah.
And then what you want is for people to kind of react to it and say, oh, Method Oregon, that means that's really good sparkling wine. And then they buy it. Because, all this stuff, if nobody buys the wine, it doesn't matter.
On that topic, let me ask, do you think this will work? Have you ever seen anything like this? I mean, you've been writing about wine for how long?
Yeah, so,
decades now.
Probably the closest equivalent I can think of that's been quite successful is Franciacorta, which is not, goes back a little farther, but it doesn't go back hundreds of years or anything. No. And Franciacorta, probably 10 years ago, started a kind of campaign to make people recognize Franciacorta. And it's Italian sparkling. It's method Champagne, or traditional method, whatever you want to call it. Don't get sued by the Champagne laws. And what they did is they went on a promotional bender to, make people aware of Franciacorta. And it really worked. And the wines are very high quality, which you have to start with to begin.
I think they're fantastic.
They're really terrific. And they're, one, if they didn't have the name Franciacorta, they didn't have the restrictions about how you can make it and the quality level, it wouldn't matter because the wines wouldn't be great. And then two, they actually tried to promote it and it worked. And their sales went up dramatically. And more people know about Franciacorta now by far than they used to. So yeah, I think it's possible it can work. There's all sorts of variables. Wine right now is just not doing great. Sparkling wine's doing better than wine as a whole. It's probably, in that context, it's probably actually a good time to do a sparkling wine certification like that. Luckily, younger people seem to like bubbles in literally everything. I mean, it's like seltzer, RTDs, it's like
Celsius
non-alcoholic, just fizzy water. It's like we got a nation of addicted to bubbles people. Yeah. It's like, which is not bad. I mean, given the things you can be addicted to, bubbles are pretty low key.
Very, very, yeah. I guess it depends what comes with those bubbles. But
I mean, it's no one, I just don't think that people are going to be really deeply affected by their addiction to Poland Spring or something.
Poland Spring. Yeah, I think you're right. But this whole like the wine business is in trouble thing, it will pass. This is going to pass in some form or another.
Always up and down.
Always up and down.
And it's been around for 8,000 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I've said this a million times, but what's the old Rothschild saying? When there's blood in the streets, buy real estate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of one of these things right now, there's a little blood in the street, might as well go hard at a movement, Maybe this is what will help wake people back up a little bit.
Yeah. And may help, I mean, because Oregon is planted to a lot of Chardonnay and Pinot, it's a way for people to shift, to keep their vines in the ground, but shift what they're making too. Because you can, it's fairly easy, albeit you have to wait for the wine to be ready, but you can harvest for, you can harvest for sparkling instead of harvesting for still wine.
Yeah, they did with the restriction they're doing though, 2 years on tirage. You kind of do have to. It takes a bit of time.
Yeah, it's and it's funny at the seminar we did today. Mark Flosek from St. Innocent, in the mid '80s, started out his whole ambition was to make sparkling wine, and he realized he was going to have to sit on it for so long he was going to go out of business if he didn't have something to sell. Which is when he started making still wine instead, and then became known for the
of course,
for the Pinots.
First Pinots, of course.
It's like
this is a loaded question, but what do you think of the overall wines here? Is this region good enough to be what they're saying, claiming, hoping to be?
I've tasted a lot of sparkling wine from Oregon. The best ones are really, really good. And they age beautifully too. And the land in Oregon is, the best vineyard land in Oregon is world-class vineyard land. You can make great Pinot and great Chardonnay here. And that's been proven for still wines. The top Oregon Chardonnays don't cost as much as DRC Montrachet. However, they're really great wines, and that the cost equation is not an indicator of how great they are.
Yeah, certainly.
So I don't see any reason why you can't make great sparkling wine here. And I think some people are already making it. Reputation's a fickle, weird thing. You know it from, there are great actors who never get the acclaim they should have gotten, even though they're amazing. And then there are actors who get award after award who maybe aren't as good. In the same way with wines, there are regions by virtue of history and so on, Grand Cru Burgundy, which people will just kind of always be, it's the greatest wine on earth. Sometimes it is. At the same time, Oregon's a much younger region, but when you look at the soil, you look at the land, you look at the climate, and you look at the talent that's here, we can make really great wines here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I've had some sparkling wines here that I think are candidates, and now I'm not you. I don't taste as much wine. I don't have the experience, but I think could be the best sparkling wines in America. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do. The region as a whole, obviously, it's tough to speak of a region. I don't even know how to wrap my head around other sparkling wine regions in America because there really aren't any per se.
There aren't other regions that are as heavily focused on those two Burgundian grapes, which are the ones that are used in great sparkling wine, Chardonnay and Pinot.
Which they did, by the way, not give any kind of rules. You can put any grapes you want.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can plant pinotage throughout this area. You shouldn't do it.
I asked them,
idea.
Can I do Concord grapes? They said yes.
Yeah.
Can I do Vitis Lambrusco? Yes.
Yeah, you can do anything you want. I think that there are great sparkling wines in California too, for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think that California, there's so much wine made in California, and so many of the greatest California wines are not sparkling, that the Napa Cabernet, for instance, and some of the great Pinots in California kind of have a lock on the what people think is the reputation of those regions, whereas Oregon feels a little more malleable in people's minds. And so it would be very hard to do, I think it'd be really hard to do a Method California designation that would have any effect. It's just, there's too many wineries and there's too much stuff. Whereas this is a pretty cohesive, even though Willamette is really big, it's a very cohesive wine region and a very tied to far fewer grape varieties too. So it kind of works better in that context, I would say.
Yeah. Now I wonder too, because obviously another component that's going to have to come with this is tourism.
Yeah.
They're going to need people to come here with the express idea that they want to drink bubbles.
Yeah.
And I wonder, can they do that? That's or do they even need to? I don't
know if they need to, in that they're already got people coming here for Pinot and Chardonnay. There are very few wineries here that solely make bubbles. I think there's like 80-something wineries making.
Lytle Barnett, Corollary.
Thins out.
It does thin out.
And Lytle Barnett.
Arabilis, I think.
And Lytle Barnett also has a second label that is still wine. Corollary only makes sparkling. It's kind of interesting that way because you've got tourism already for wine.
Domaine Willamette, they only do sparkling.
They may only do sparkling. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry,
But the tourism is going to come here and they're going to drink sparkling and they're going to drink Pinot and they're going to drink Chard.
Right.
And to my mind, what you need is a little more tourism infrastructure, like higher end hotels and stuff like that. I mean, it's a really cool region to visit.
I love it. I don't want those hotels here.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong end of it.
Yeah,
I wanted to stay this wonderfully rustic little place that has little nooks and crannies and.
Yeah, it still feels like a farming environment. Which Napa Valley, for everything I love about Napa Valley, it doesn't feel like a farmland. It's despite the fact that the entire valley is covered with grapevines, which are in fact being farmed, it does not feel like farmland, whereas this feels like farmland.
So at least you have, hazelnuts and you go and you see, they're growing giant areas of fescue grass to make grass seed for the rest of the country here.
Right.
And so it's not yet a monoculture here.
Yeah, not by no means.
Which is a big problem, I think, in the earlier discussion about wines and a bit of an issue right now. I promise you, if Saint-Emilion had some other vegetables planted anywhere, we'd be in a better position. The problem is Lalande de Palmerol is just solid.
I don't think they're going to start planting zucchinis, weirdly enough.
No, they're not. But you get my point that it just would be nice if there was I think there's just a lot of wine. When you run into one problem, that's going to happen.
Yeah,
So
that's for sure.
This place does have a very interesting topography because there are other things you could see growing.
Yeah, even just looking out here, there's a vineyard, but then there's a whole wall of trees there, and then there's, I don't know what's beyond it.
Yeah.
Llamas. There are quite a number of llamas in this valley.
Really?
I don't know exactly why. One thing they're useful for, apparently.
They stop. They're like guard dogs.
They are like guard dogs.
I read about this.
The llamas will keep coyotes and bobcats from eating things like your sheep, and first thing they'll do is kick you, and then they'll spit on you, and then if there still isn't working, they'll throw up on you. Apparently, they vomit at you.
That's an amazing trifecta. What a wonderful animal.
And it's like, sounds great, but I can see being a bobcat, you're like, get me out of here. What is this?
We need to get you on the Oregon
situation?
Tourism board. Just like,
I'm there.
Come here for the wine, the hazelnuts, and the llamas that will spit, kick, and vomit on you if you step out of line.
Yeah. I'm not helping the tourism at the moment with the llama thing. But,
no way. Llama thing's great. Everyone loves llamas. No, I'm in. So if they're going to be known, do you think this is going to spread where maybe they're going to come up with something for Pinot? Do you think this is going to start a chain reaction where because obviously this is going to evolve. When I was speaking to them, just backtracking for a second about why are you allowing people to use whatever grapes they want, their answer was the market's going to sort that out.
Right.
If somebody wants to make a traditional method, some wacky grape out there, the market may not want to drink that. And so they're probably going to change that. I mean, which I understand, but that's going to get sorted out too. I mean, eventually they're going to probably.
I don't think they would do something with Pinot because the thing about sparkling is it's a very process-driven kind of wine. And you can make specific rules about how you make it. But I mean, you couldn't really come up with like a method Pinot and say you have to use a certain amount of new oak because half the winemakers would be like, go to hell.
Yeah.
And also the novelty of Pinot Noir in Oregon, that ship sailed a long time ago. I mean, everybody knows Oregon is known for Pinot. Mm-hmm. And the sparkling method Oregon has the benefit of being this new thing. It's not like sparkling hasn't been made here for a long time because Argyle and St. Vincent were making it in the late 80s. But in the past 10 years, there's been this explosion of small, high-end, high-quality small producers making sparkling wine. And it's oddly a kind of infrastructure thing in that, and you saw it in California too, with custom crush places devoted to making sparkling wine like Vinovate here or Radian or Rack and Riddle down in California. They didn't exist before. So if you were a winery that made 2,000 cases of wine and you wanted to make 200 cases of sparkling wine, it's not like you're going to buy a $5 million bottling line for your sparkling wine. The fact that you can now go to Rack and Riddle or you can go to Radian and say, I want to make 200 cases of sparkling from my Pinot, and they say, this is the deal, that's great. So suddenly there are now 55 members of this 2-year-old organization for sparkling wine, whereas if you tried to create Method Oregon 15 years ago, you wouldn't have had enough people to do it. You wouldn't have had enough wineries making sparkling wine to make it happen.
This is going to be a gigantic question, but I'm going to try to distill it down. What is your personal relationship with traditional method wine? I mean, I'm assuming it starts with champagne, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you go back, how long have you been a journalist in wine?
I've been writing about wine full-time since 2000, so 25 years.
Can you remember the very first meaningful traditional method you ever drank?
Yeah, it was a bottle of like mum champagne that my parents gave me when a play I wrote premiered at college.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it was like, that was what you did. You gave people champagne. And I was like, I knew nothing about wine. I knew that champagne was fancy. We didn't drink it at home, and that was very sweet of them. And I drank it with my girlfriend. I don't remember what it tasted like, but I remember it being special.
Yeah.
And that's always been champagne's great, like, the Champenois are brilliant marketers, and they, more than any other wine, they latched onto the, champagne is for special events, it's for special moments. And I remember talking to, I want to say it was Matthew Billicart, but I can't remember. One of the champagne producers, I think it was Matthew Billicart, said, we're in the business of selling wine, but we're really in the business of selling magic. And that's what champagne does. It sells you that moment when you pop the bottle and the bubbles go and you're celebrating whatever it is you're celebrating. And they've been very, very good at marketing that. And that's interesting because they've had such a lock on it that it's very hard for people to compete against it. And I think that's where it's tricky with Method Oregon, because if you make the wines too cheap, you're competing with Prosecco, which is a whole different scale.
It's a fool's errand to try to be in that price range.
You can't do it.
There are even some Cremants that are low price.
If you compete at literally the same price as Champagne, you're going up against a region that has this massive reputation for being the best sparkling wine in the world, whether it is or not. So you've got to kind of position yourself.
And some of the biggest luxury companies that the world's ever seen.
Absolutely, LVMH, yeah.
LVMH and others that are running these organizations.
So you've got this like very careful calculation you have to do of where you position yourself. And I think which Franciacorta did really brilliantly by being kind of like, the baseline Franciacortas are probably $10 less than your basic champagnes, 10 to 15. They're expensive wines, but they're that little bit under champagne. So you get the quality level and you get the excitement of bubbles, but you get it at 10 or $12 less. And I think the Method Oregon wines, the majority of them are in that price zone too, that sort of 45 to 50 as opposed to 60 to 65. But it's an interesting question because, going back to the first bottle of bubbles I ever had, I didn't know a damn thing about Mum. I didn't know if the wine was good or not, but I knew it was champagne and it was special. And the Method Oregon designation says this is special because it's actually really high quality bubbles that we've actually got rules about how you make it. And I think that's important. It actually does help thin out the potential of crappy wine.
Sure. I mean, it is magic what champagne's been able to do. I mean, I'd put it up there as one of the most recognizable words we have. I mean, Are there any other regions in America that have done this? Is this the first time? I'm racking my brain.
It's the first.
Bourbon's done it, right? Maybe.
Well, bourbon is by nature of required to have certain. All appellations have requirements about sourcing grapes, but they don't have requirements about how you make them. In the U.S., as opposed to Burgundy, where there are very
of course
strict
Napa.
requirements.
They're very. I mean, I know they've taken a lot of people to court about the
U.S.
grapes coming
and other quote unquote New World regions. Australia don't like restrictions on what you can do, but the original appellation creation in Europe in the 30s or whatever was meant to. The reason it was done was to enforce quality and not damage the reputation of the region, because you wanted Burgundy or Hermitage or whatever to kind of be able to keep its reputation for quality and not be blown away by making just a bunch of junk. It's become more complicated since then, but and we kind of copied that in the U.S. without some of the strictures, so it was a little more loosey-goosey as to whether it was actually a quality designation or just a regional thing. And so the Method Oregon thing is smart because it does say if you want to be Method Oregon, you have restrictions that are based on quality. It has to be entourage for a certain amount of time. It has to be, grapes from Oregon. I think it's smart. Whether it'll have a massive effect or whether it'll just have a little small helpful effect, I don't know, but I can't see it's going to have a negative effect.
Part of the reason I've been so vocal about, I don't know about promoting, but at least helping them build awareness about this is I really want to see what happens here. I want to be with these folks to watch them go through, because in 20 years, I'm telling you, this will have done something. And it takes a while.
It should.
It takes a while.
I think it's smart right now to do something with sparkling wine because it is growing within the wine world, no matter what price you're looking at. And premium sparkling wine is definitely a growing category. And if you're going to latch yourself onto something right now in terms of wine, other than possibly non-alcoholic wines, which are growing, but I'm still waiting for the one that makes me happy.
I'm desperately trying. And every time I say this on the podcast, I get 5 PR organizations that reach out to me and go, we've got it. Let me send you some samples.
Yeah.
And they do, or if I reply, they do. And none of them have worked for me. They don't have the acid. They don't have this, or they do, and they have
they're
something
hollow.
missing.
And the other thing about non-alcoholic, I mean, this is off of our Method Oregon subject, but it is something that you can't make a non-alcoholic Method Oregon wine. It doesn't. You wouldn't be part of the designation.
Is that in the rules? It has to have alcohol.
I don't know. Actually, it's a good question. Non-alcoholic wines, by their nature, are industrial products because you're removing alcohol from the wine.
Oh, interesting. I didn't think about
it
it
is,
that way.
if you want to drink something that's natural, wine is yeast and grapes. If you want to drink something that's unnatural, you can have a Diet Coke or you can have a non-alcoholic wine where they spinning coned all, the alcohol out, added the liquid back in, and did this with a $400,000 machine or $1.5 million machine. And, it's like, I feel a little bit, it's like, it's like the sugar-free, gluten-free cookie. At a certain point, why have a cookie? Just have something else.
Yeah. Oh, recently I was just in Italy again, sort of off topic, but I'll land the plane. I was just in Italy, and you know what I had that reminded me of how good not having a non-alcoholic drink is? Just an Italian lemonade.
Yeah.
And I had this Italian lemonade. It had acid, it had sugar, it was delicious, and it had no alcohol in it. And I was thinking, like, I would drink this 10 out of 10 times over a non-alcoholic wine,
which will taste weird and additionally is just gross.
Yeah.
The non-alcoholic beer world has kind of nailed it. They
Agreed.
Athletic and all, they make things that actually taste like beer, but you're working at much lower alcohols, and you're fermenting with specialized yeasts that don't produce alcohol in the first place. You're not stripping out alcohol.
There's no alternative. So like think about what hop water is.
Yeah.
Here. I know we're off the rails a little bit here, but that's okay. Think about what hop water is. There's no alternative. There's nothing like hop water for wine.
No.
Where people could be like, yeah, just like a hoppy, sparkling water that has no calories. You're like, okay, it tastes good. You're like, fine, okay, I get it. If someone was trying to do that it would just be like a ghost wine. It would be gross.
I think there's an interesting category of non-alcoholic interesting drinks.
Sure.
But not the ones that pretend to wineness, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Method Oregon. That's an interesting question. I have to quiz them on whether you can make a non-alcoholic Method Oregon wine.
There's no way. I mean,
they don't want me to ask that question.
Why would you want to spend the money to go through all of this stuff? Because again, this is the thing that I find. I honestly, trying to compete with champagne is such a not a fool's errand, but certainly an expensive errand at bare minimum.
Yeah.
But it's a worthy cause if you truly believe in it. And I keep asking these people, like, at what point we would be profitable? And they always gasp laughing whenever I ask them. Everybody here in Oregon, but they're making they're making great stuff. I really keep saying this. Anybody who listens to this or is watching it on Sam TV, I'm always like, you got to. If you're gonna go buy a bottle of champagne, which I'm sure anybody listening to this podcast, at least a couple times a year buys a bottle of champagne.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm like, just take one of those and just take my advice and get a bottle of Lytle Barnett or something that's like a higher end, sparkling from Oregon. And I just want to know what you think.
Yeah.
But try to not drink it under the auspice that it's a novelty. Just try to go,
is this great sparkling wine?
It's a great sparkling wine. And then I want to hear from you and go, because for me, I've been consistently blown away.
Yeah.
And it does bring up the question of if they could get the price $10 less than champagne, $15 less than champagne, could it, from a standpoint of, I don't mean like nationalism, but as like, we're American and we did something great, could it replace champagne here? Do you think that?
Nothing. I don't think anything will ever replace champagne, because I think leaving aside the fact that the wines are actually quite good, the brand identity of champagne is so, as you said earlier, it's like, it's in the culture in a way that no other wine term is.
Yeah.
It's like, champagne dreams, champagne this, champagne. It's entered the language as a kind of imprimatur of fanciness. I think there was some kind of crazy thing where Apple wanted to do a champagne-colored phone, and the Champagne laws, the Champagne organization, was going to sue Apple because of infringement of the term champagne.
Where they took a bunch of Miller High Lifes. Do you remember this story?
Yeah.
There was pallets of Miller High Life, and they destroyed them in France.
Yeah, the champagne of beers.
Because it has the champagne of beers on the thing, and so they destroyed all these. I mean, you got to hand to the French.
I mean, they are always French.
They're very French, and I love it.
But it's interesting. It's like the champagne of beers. Well, right there, that's the implication is that it's the top of the top, and it's the fancy beer. I'm still unconvinced that Miller High Life is the top of the top, but
like the Ferrari of markers.
But there's not another wine term that's like that, and so. In some sense, it's not that you want to compete or try and replace champagne. It's that you want to build yourself as just your own thing that people buy because it's Oregon and it's sparkling and they know it's going to be great. And I think closest equivalent in the U.S. is probably what happened with the 70s with red wine out of Napa Valley, which, the reputation of U.S. wine worldwide was not much before, one, the Judgment of Paris, but two, people like Robert Mondavi were really promoting it in a way to say we are as good as Bordeaux. And now there's not much question that California, for instance, produces some of the greatest red wines in the world. It's just a given. So if the quality is there, people will eventually realize that it's truly great. It's just, how long does it take? Does it take 10 years? Does it take 20 years? Does it take whatever years? It's not like Oregon sparkling wine hasn't been good up to now. They just haven't had a way to phrase it so people would get a sense that this meant something, U.S. sparkling as a whole has had a kind of like weird identity crisis because it's, unlike Cava, which is a more affordable category, or unlike Prosecco, it's U.S. sparkling with, like, what is that? Whereas I like Method Oregon because it sounds like something.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I wonder if Americans are ready for this. The gen pop, as I would say, are they ready for this thing? And then to have to be told, there's regulations on this. It's got all these rules. And
it's a great experiment. I mean, we'll find out.
That's why
that's why
I'm here.
There are a lot of times I think Americans, my people, aren't ready for stuff that I love. But, at the same time, we have a great history of going up against things that have established reputations and saying, look, what we're doing is just as good. Pay attention to it. And then people are like, oh, yeah, actually, it's really good. So
I know it is always funny. Americans positioning themselves as the underdogs always is hilarious.
We're the underdogs when we're like the most powerful country in the world. It's a neat trick.
Yeah.
It's
I'm going to make a confession because this is totally off topic, but I'm going to do it for the listeners who are really with me and listen all the time and watch all the time. We have this film about the Judgment of Paris coming, and we've had it due to our audience for 3 years, and then we promised it for the 50th anniversary.
I would say you might want to get it out.
It's but I will say part of the thing I've struggled with is this whole American underdog thing in the film.
Yeah.
And it's hard in today's moment to release a film that has this mentality. I guess I'm like right now just spilling to a psychiatrist of why I have this film out. We're getting there. It's almost done, and it's a very good story, but I'm having a hard time with the sentimentality of it.
It's very hard to.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense.
My audience listening is like, bullshit, where's the movie?
Yeah, I mean, you actually should just release the movie.
I know, we will.
But it is absolutely true that it's very hard to remember back to when California wine was definitely the underdog. And you don't, it's just completely changed from the early 70s, let's say, and French wine was the benchmark of everything, and more than Italian wine was also an underdog at the time. It was, one of the things about history is you have to put yourself back in the mindset of that era. I mean, the U.S. it was not an underdog in terms of political power or economic power back then, but in terms of wine reputation, we were.
In the 70s.
Yeah.
But this does lead directly into the conversation we are having about Method Oregon, in that I believe that the producers here, maybe the state even, the wine region, especially with the climate of wine at the moment, I'm sure they feel like the underdog.
Yeah, I think everybody in wine right now is feeling a little bit like they're under assault from a variety of external forces, which is drag, climate change, public perception about alcohol, rise of GLP-1s and people drinking and eating less, cannabis. I mean, there's just all sorts of headwinds for wine. But at the same time, there's a lot of people out there who love wine, and they're going to keep drinking wine.
Certainly.
I mean, certainly not planning to stop. Again, I think, like you said, it's a good time to start something that talks about Oregon sparkling in terms of quality. Weirdly, because things are down, it's kind of a good time to do that.
Considering the fact it takes so long to make this damn wine, it's probably the wind will hopefully blow the other direction by the time your wine's ready to sell.
That's right. You've got 6 or 7 years before you even get a bottle out the door. So,
that's true. That's true. Well, this is going to be a really fascinating thing to watch. I want to ask you, I'm going to put you right on the spot here. Right on the spot. I want you to name, in order if you can, your top 5 sparkling wine regions of the world for you.
Okay.
I go home, I got a cat on my lap, I'm watching a movie.
Right.
You're watching Steel Magnolias or whatever you're watching with your cat.
Right.
You're going to drink some sparkling wine.
I so often sit around watching Steel Magnolias with my cat. Life that I haven't experienced yet.
Just trying to give the viewer a weird image. All right, so what are the top regions for you as someone who has drank all over the world with so many people, and the people too, which makes it harder?
Yeah. I mean,
Champagne's one?
Champagne's one.
Okay.
I mean, yes, there is mass market champagne that's not that exciting, but the best champagnes are truly, truly great wines, and they've been making them for a long time.
It's a hard thing to argue with.
And they're brilliant.
All right, now let's go to 5.
It's tricky because if we're talking purely quality as opposed to like price quality ratio, I think that I would probably say numbers 2 and 3 are California and Oregon in some kind of,
Interesting. You'd go 2 and 3 are California and Oregon.
I think I probably would, because the best sparkling wines from California, Oregon are really, really good. And I'm trying to think.
If I put a blowtorch to you and said you got to pick which one's 2 and which one's 3,
that's tough. I think right now there's probably more excitement in my mind around sparkling wine in Oregon than in California, because there's so much else going on in California. The other ones that are at play in the kind of like great sparkling wine zone, Franciacorta. I think the best Franciacortas are really great wines. And what I think are the best cavas often don't come to the U.S. The top line, because the cava is known as a value wine in the U.S. There are great cavas from the top producers, like the Manuel Reventos from Reventos y Blanc, where, I don't know, 20 bottles show up in the U.S., but it is a spectacular sparkling wine. I don't tend to think in terms of region as so much as producer.
Yes. Yeah, no, I know that's why this game is a little bit of a.
Yeah.
But so if you had to, forced, arm behind your back, you'd go 1 Champagne, 2 Oregon, 3 California, 4 Franciacorta, 5 Cava?
I would if you asked me today.
Yeah.
And then ask me tomorrow and I'll rejigger the order.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear you say Franciacorta. I got a lot of angry people I did it with a number of the Method Oregon people, and we went through this. Franciacorta wasn't brought up at all, and I had to jump in and say, we got to talk about Franciacorta for a minute.
Yeah.
And I think I was the only defender of Franciacorta on that conversation, and I think it's tremendous.
I think the best wines out of Franciacorta are amazing. I'm trying to think if there's like a major region I left out without thinking about it. But I mean, Loire sparkling, quite good, but fairly consistently at one level.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of
there's if you want to go
everywhere now.
That island below Australia, you could argue Tasmania has some decent stuff, but I wouldn't put a top 5. I don't know, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
It's a fool's errand, but I want to say how much I appreciate talking to you, Ray.
It's a pleasure.
You are the best. Hopefully people are still with us all over the place conversation. But all right, well, there's more. I hope you're rested and hydrated, because there's quite a bit more sparkling we have to drink throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we're not drinking at the moment is sparkling, because we've been drinking sparkling straight for multiple hours.
There is a distinct reason we are drinking Oregon still wine at the moment. It has nothing to do with the quality of sparkling. It's just we have a lot of it coming out shortly.
We certainly do.
So, all right, well, cheers, Ray.
Cheers, man. Absolutely. Great to see you.
Great to see you. I want to thank everybody for listening. It really means a lot. Remember, if you love this podcast, give us a great review, rate it wherever you listen to podcasts. If you can, watch it on SomTV. Go to somtv.com. You can also watch our brand new film, Echoes of Wine, which is premiering this weekend in Napa in theaters, and it's completely sold out. If you are interested in attending one of our screenings, going to one of our events, and one of our upcoming live podcasts, stay tuned. We are going to be announcing that stuff pretty soon. I know tickets go quick, so I'll try to be quick with getting it out to you guys. Everybody be safe and drink some sparkling. Why not something from Oregon? Talk soon. Bye-bye.